Hey everybody, Mark and I are working on his Ariens GT17 tractor again today. Originally we started out thinking we would not even bother videoing this because the problem was that the rear wheel was wobbling, it seemed loose. So we wanted to investigate what that was all about, and then once we got the wheel off, which was just, we took the lug nuts off, took the wheel off, then realized, okay, it was the hub that was loose, which is what I suspected. So we took the big giant castle nut off, took the cotter pin out and the big giant castle nut off, removed the hub, and then we were looking at the brakes and we realized the brakes hadn't been working because they're seized up. So what Mark's doing now is the very long and pain in the butt task of getting the self-locking nuts that go on here. There's one on this side that he already took off and now one on the back side there. He's taking those off. That'll allow us to take the linkage part off. And what we suspect is wrong is that these long pins right here are seized in this part right here. So the way this is supposed to work is through a cam action. There's a lever back here that's supposed to push on the back here and basically squeeze this plate and this plate on the disc. So we're hoping that once we get that other nut off, we can take this off and get this whole assembly maybe freed up. We're also trying to get this disc off so we can get a better look at if there's a bearing right inside there. I want to see how that looks. Maybe it'd be a good time to freshen that up with clean grease before we put the wheel back on, the hub back on, and tighten it all up again. Yeah, what?
You're gonna need some lubrication to get these things out.
Yeah, probably gonna need some heat, quite frankly. You keep working on that.
I'm done.
You get them both off?
Yeah.
All right, so that whole thing should come off the back. That right there, that part that's wiggling, that should slide right off.
Is this thing in the way?
That should go with it. See, there's a pin right here that rides in. Oh, wait a minute. There's a pin here that the pivot's on. That is part of. Oh, that's wonderful.
What?
That's part of this. This bracket stays with the. It's actually bolted to the axle tube. So this is the tube that the axle's inside of.
Yeah.
This is bolted to that. This arm right here pivots on this. So, well, let me get something big to put in here and just try and pry a little bit and see if we can break that free. If not, then unfortunately we're probably going to have to heat this up. All right, let's see. This long screwdriver will give me more leverage, but it also bend easier. So, yeah. See, I'm going to end up bending the screwdriver if I trade. All right. So now I got this. So I'm going to use a hammer. So let's see how this got a wedging action. I'm just going to see whether or not we see this move at all.
Wow, the rust fell off.
I don't think it moved. Oh, see that rust coming out of there?
Yeah.
I don't want to do this
Yeah.
because you damage the threads and you'll have trouble getting the.
I do on this side.
It's moving a little bit. I think this pin is seized inside this part right here, the bracket itself. So you just got to be careful. This is the lining material on the brake right there.
What it is?
Yeah, that right there. See this plate? This has the brake shoe material attached to it.
Yeah.
So to replace the brake shoes in this, you replace this piece of metal with that stuff on it. And this piece of metal right here with the other half.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful when you're tapping this in like I was just doing here, that you don't hit. See how I was hitting that a little bit? I was just catching the edge of it. You don't want to break that off. I won't have to worry about damaging that. Alright, a little PB blaster, just for the heck of it. That one moved. That one, here we go. That one freed up.
Somewhat.
A lot. Like I could turn it. Alright. On the right track.
Still some rust.
Yeah, well, once we get it out, we can clean it up.
Want to go down there and grab that sandpaper thing?
Nope. No, I'm going to use a wire brush. What I did was I sprayed the stuff in there, and now I'm driving it back in, and that'll help bring that penetrating secret recipe into the nether regions. There we go. Now we're in like Flint. Now
Let's see how rusted that thing is.
it's not that bad.
Put it in that. Put it wheel. Put it in the wheel.
Yeah, wheel. Put it in the wheel. All right. So now we can see the bearing in there a lot easier.
Is it good?
Can't see it from my house.
You don't see it though, but your house is like a couple feet away.
I can hear the
Bearings.
yeah, I can hear the little rollies on that bearing.
Are they good? Does that mean it's good, Dad?
Oh yeah, but I'm wondering whether or not that's a sealed bearing or not, because I can't see like any grease or anything, so that must be a sealed bearing. So the only way we're going to get a look at that bearing would be to get the whole shaft out.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. So we are going to put this back together after we clean up those pins on your brake assembly.
Wait, let me try to push the...
Yeah, push the brake now. Does it move?
Nope. It feels like it's locked somewhere. Unpull it.
Yeah, I think it's this.
What?
This pin. Oh, that's what it is. As this swivels, it moves that. So it seems to me like I think that this pivot point right here is frozen. All right, let's take this cotter pin out so we can take this linkage off. I wanted to take this one out, but I think this pin is stuck in there. So this one's easier to get to. All right, that pin's out. Go ahead and, well, take this out. All right, now.
Press it?
Yeah.
Nope.
Still doesn't it?
No.
There's something else going on here. All right, so at this point, we figure that the reason why the linkage still isn't moving is because we think the brakes on that side are also seized up, which we shouldn't be surprised. If one side's seized up from sitting all those years, why wouldn't the other side be? But rather than take that whole wheel apart right now, if we can just get that linkage undone that I undid on this side,
Yeah, pliers.
and just see if that's going to work.
I'm still gonna want to take this thing off.
Yeah, we're going to tighten this wheel. Yeah, obviously we want to take care of that.
We got the wrong one.
They both are loose, but this one seems looser.
I'll go over.
All right, now go ahead and try it now.
Oh yeah.
All right, so the brakes on this side are cooked.
Okay.
All right, so
I
we
got
can
blocks.
finish the brakes. We can fix the brakes on this side, fix the hub, put this all back together, and then take the other side off. Got it?
Okay.
So all we got to do.
First, put this back on.
Hold on. No. Yeah, 'cause that's all free, so that shouldn't be an issue. So all we're going to do is we're going to clean up those 2 bolts that I took off of here.
Okay.
And then we're going to put some special grease on it called Never Sees.
Mm-hmm.
It's the silver grease, and what it'll do is it'll keep it lubricated and it'll keep it so that it like never wants to rust.
Okay, can I do the on both the other side, but not take the wheel off?
What, just undo the, you can undo all of the lug nuts except for one.
Okay, can you give me the...
So, I used a wire wheel to clean up these. Nice, okay? That's the good news.
What about that lubrication you said?
I forgot it down there, I'll go grab it in a minute. But we're not ready for that, because what I want to try and do is I want to try and clean these holes out, because there's rust in here too. So, I mean, if I just put these bolts in here, with the anti-seize on them, it'll probably work just fine, but as long as we got it all apart, we're going to see if we can clean the rust out of those holes. So, since I don't have a little wire brush that's like made to fit perfectly in that hole, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up a little something to clean that hole out. All right, now I'm just going to put this rag through here, paper towel really. What I want to do is I just want to push out any of that grit from the paper that we just used that might have come off. We don't want that grit in there. They coming?
I got one.
Start. It's one more than you had before.
That did not sound good.
What, that clicking noise?
Yeah.
That's normal for lug nuts when they break free,
Okay.
when they're really tight. Trust me, you're not going to snap those.
Why?
They're very strong. I mean, you can snap them, but it usually takes like a impact wrench and somebody over tightens them. This is interesting to me on this hub.
What?
The brake, these holes are like
Messed up.
all messed up.
Yeah.
So basically the lug, the studs on the wheel hub, they just kind of float in here loose. This thing just kind of sits on there. I mean, it'll still work, but it seems to me like these holes are just all worn out. This disc looks like it's replaceable.
Yeah.
Or more than likely, actually, the reason why this is 2 pieces is this is supposed to be the wear part. So they probably made this 2 pieces so you can replace this without having to replace this. But I doubt you could even get this piece now. So we're going to have to roll with it the way it is. Alright, so I got a very light coating of this anti-seize stuff on here. You think this smells horrible? Well, I thought it was masking your smell, so I kind of liked it. Get it? You stink. Now, it's always important whenever you're using grease to lubricate parts of a braking system that you get as much grease as possible all over the disc and the pads while you're doing this.
Sure.
To help with the friction coefficient.
I have a hard time believing you.
So you can see I'm taking great care in making sure that I don't get grease all over. Actually, I don't really care. It's not my tractor. So. Anyways, get my drift. If you actually care. you would want to avoid getting grease on this disc and on these pads. Especially the pads, because the disc, you can, if you accidentally get grease on it, you can clean it up pretty easy before you go further, but the pads are a pain in the butt to clean. So yeah, but this should help keep it from getting all messed up from sitting. Oh, thanks, from sitting all winter, you know. And it was a lot more than one winter that this has been sitting since the brakes had been used. So all right, so what we can do is you could just put those nuts on there and just get them started.
Yeah.
And we'll tighten them down later because these nuts also act as an adjustment.
Yeah.
All right, let's get that wheel hub.
How did this go?
Now there's rust on these splines, I can see it. So
is that fine?
Is it fine that there's rust on the splines?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what that tells me is that we were lucky this wasn't seized onto the axle, because then we would have had a hell of a time getting this out. So I'm going to put some never-sees on these too, because there may be a point where we need to get this out for some reason down the road. Maybe you'll be working on it with your son. You'll say, son, I'm going to let you have this tractor. My father handed it down to me, and I'm going to hand it down to you.
Yeah, this is not leaving the family.
The beautiful legacy of this wonderful tractor will continue. Blah, 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 blah.
This is never going to leave the family.
Your kid will be like, Dad, who gives a crap?
I'm flying my car tomorrow.
I'm flying my car. Dad, I'm going with my buddies to fly my car around town.
Flying my motorcycle.
All right, we need that giant socket. Okay, so now, as you pointed out, Mark, this was only hand tight. It was very loose. It was actually a little too loose. So what we want is we want this tight, but we don't want to just torque down on it, tighten it too much, because what'll happen is that'll actually put force on that bearing, and it'll make the bearing bind, and it'll be a problem. So the idea is we want it so that it's tight enough so that it doesn't flop. So usually what you do is you hand tighten it, and then you see how the hole for the cotter pin doesn't line up with one of these slots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now tighten it so that that lines up, and that's what we're going to go with. This is the finest Chinese ratchet. All right, grab me a cotter pin. Purpose of this video, we're going to pretend this is a brand new cotter pin and that it just happened to come out of the package looking all like the like a crooked river. See, it's not floppy anymore. Okay. All right, so we got the brakes all put back together. Now we want to adjust them. So these two self-locking nuts, this one here and the one on the back side right here, they get adjusted, tightened up, and what they do is they help compensate for wear on the brake pads. So right now we just checked it, and if he steps on the brake, it works. So that right there will probably be fine. But I want this one to be tightened up the same amount as this one, or run down on the threads the same amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little scale that I have, and I'm going to take a measurement, and that's actually like to that little ridge there on that self-locking nut. It's almost exactly a ½ inch, so I'm going to see how that one is. Just a little bit over. I think we're just going to loosen this one up a little bit. That looks pretty good. So that's okay. I think that's a good starting point, and we can always readjust them after we get it all put back together if we don't like the way it's working. Alright, so now we're going to do exactly what we did to this side to the other side. And then when we come back, we'll have both sides back put together and we'll just give it a test drive. Alright, so we just finished up doing the same exact thing to this side that we did to that side, and we adjusted the brakes. And I just torqued the lug nuts on both of the rims. So Mark's going to start it up and we'll just give it a quick test. You're not pushing hard enough. How come it works when I do it? Alright, so it works, but the brakes on this tractor, by design, they were never really made to be that great. You know, there's no power assist on them, obviously. They're just a mechanical disc brake, and the problem is, because it's hydrostatic drive, most of the braking power of the tractor is actually provided by the hydrostatic transmission. So that's really kind of like an emergency brake, so to speak. I guess if you were like on a hill or something, would be more important. This pedal over here is what they call a neutralizer pedal, and all this pedal does is, by design, it moves this lever back to where it's supposed to be. So like right now it's in forward position. If I step on the neutralizer pedal, that brings it back. That linkage is all, you know, kind of funky and needs some adjustment. Some worn parts need to be replaced or repaired and all adjusted. But the point is, this brake has no prayer stopping this tractor if it's going forward with the lever forward. So it actually, it says so right here. It tells you that that's the neutralizer pedal and that this is the brake pedal, and there's a warning right there where it says brakes will not stop tractor unless neutralizer pedal is depressed. So if you press this pedal without pressing that pedal, all you're asking for is burnt up brakes. Not going to do anything for you. So that's the basic gist of it. And then there's, to add more ridicule to the whole situation, there's literally a parking brake, which is you depress the brakes and you pop this into one of these teeth, and then that supposedly is setting a brake, and then I guess you just press it forward and it releases it. But there's like really little free play in the actual brake mechanism itself between on and off. The brakes don't have a lot of cushion to them. So anyways, so that's it. That's going to end this particular episode of the GT17 tractor. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please give it a like, thumbs up button. What did I just say? Give it a like, thumbs up button. If you like this video, please hit the like button. That's saying like too many times.
Post.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button.
Say post notification. Put your post notification.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Put your notification bell on.
Yeah, and be sure to put on your notification bell.
Terrible.
All right.